So first off, would you please welcome to the stage the presenters for the restoration of the crockery of the dining room of Astravas estate in Biržai.
Good afternoon, everyone. Labdien visiem. It's a pleasure to be here today. My name is Aiste Šinkevičienė. I am a curator of archaeological collections and restoration project manager at the Biržai Region Museum Siela. Today, on behalf of Pranas Gudinas Conservation Center and Lithuanian National Museum of Art, I would like to present about restoration of the crockery of the dining room from Astravas estate in Biržai. So let's begin with the brief history of Astravas estate. The Astravas estate was founded in the middle of the 19th century and belonged to the famous Tiškevičius family, which ruled Biržai from the beginning of the 19th century to the first half of the 20th century. The construction of the palace was initiated by Jonas Tiškevičius, the founder of the Biržai Majorat. After Jonas Tiškevičius, the estate belonged to 5 successive members of the family: Mykolas Tiškevičius, Juozapas Tiškevičius, Jonas Leonas Tiškevičius, Alfredas Jonas Tiškevičius, and finally Jonas Jurgis Tiškevičius. As you can see, in Lithuania, we love the name Jonas as it is loved in Latvia. Impartial to luxury, Count Jonas Tiškevičius spared no expense and took great care of the construction and founding of the representational palace in Astravas. The exterior design of the palace was influenced by the Italian villa style, which is evident from rare details never found in other Lithuanian palaces. A belvedere tower, which one is here, and porch terrace with square columns, etc. The palace was characterized by its splendid interior with columns, relief moldings, wood carvings, polychrome, parquet floors, and frescoes by French artists. The rooms were decorated with colorful stoves and fireplaces. The Count had a large collection of books, was interested in archaeology and photography, and traveled throughout Europe and America. Although Jonas Tiškevičius had the greatest contribution to the flourishing of the Astravas palace, its later governors, sophisticated members of the famous family, also brought works of art, hunting trophies, archaeological treasures, and various luxury items to the luxurious palace. Attesting to that is an inventory document from 1848, which lists stylish pieces of furniture, chandeliers, crockery, and various other items. Late inventory records from 1872, 1874, and 1875 describe the palace's crockery cabinets as being full of English and local faience, porcelain crockery, French items decorated with coats of arms, Saxon porcelain, Czech and local glassware, Warsaw-made silver, tableware, dishware acquired in Riga, and crystal items. In the first half of the 20th century, political and economic developments led to the decline of the influence of the Tiškevičius family. Some of the estate's properties and valuables were sold off. After the family left Lithuania, the wealth accumulated by the estate became scattered across various museums in Lithuania and around the world, some of it ending up in private collections. What was left either deteriorated or was looted during the First and Second World Wars. So the ending was quite sad. Now let's turn to how the crockery was found. Following the decision to renovate the park of the Biržai Astravas estate, archaeological research was carried out on the property in August 2020. During it, archaeologist Roma Songailaitė discovered a filled-in waste pit next to the palace building. It contained crockery dating back to the Tiškevičius era, English faience from the second half of the 19th century, Meissen porcelain, Kuznetsov and Riga-made plates, products of the Kornilov Brothers factory in St. Petersburg, a dozen unbroken bottles, fragments of glass goblets, etc. Due to their poor state, in example cracks, deposits, and break-offs, the finds were not fit for display in Region Museum Sela in Biržai. So in 2021 and 2022, the objects were restored by 4 ceramic restorers at the Lithuanian National Museum of Art, Pranas Gudinas Center for Restoration. Now let's take a look at these beautiful plates. A 19th century craft products of English faience stand out from the rest of the collection. 4 ornate serving dishes of different sizes and various purpose are branded with the logo Campania and letter M, decorated with blue cobalt ceramic decals, depicting romantic scenes of castles, like here, flower urns and gardens, and finished in a clear glaze. Another impressive group of 6 plates made in 1878 bears the mark of the manufacturer, Brown Westhead, Moore & Co., also decorated with blue floral motifs using the decal technique. Decorating ceramic with intricate patterns by hand was a difficult and expensive process. So in 1750, a print transfer, a decorative decal technique was developed in Staffordshire, England. The desired pattern would be engraved on a copper plate, which would then be painted with ceramic paints. The image transferred onto a sheet of paper and from there onto the surface of the ceramic item. The item would then be fired in a kiln at low temperature, finished in a colorless glaze and fired again. With the development of mass production, the much quicker decal decoration technique provided an alternative to hand-decorated ceramic products. Astravas estate faience crockery was made around 1840 by craft manufacturers in the West Midlands century of Staffordshire. The pottery district, centered in Stoke-on-Trent, has been known since the 17th century for its industrial-scale pottery production. Staffordshire craft producers traded in faience on a large scale, and their work has been awarded top prizes at many of the world's great exhibitions. Unfortunately, all of the crockery mentioned above survived in the form of shards with significant fragmentary losses. Hard brown deposits had accumulated abundantly on the glazed surfaces, especially on the fracture points of the shards, due to the presence of rubbish and other refuse in the waste pit. The glaze of several plates shows a continuous dense network of darkened craquelure. Brownish, bluish, and gray blotches are scattered beneath the clear glaze around cracks. There were doubts as to whether the organic matter adjacent to the plates had actually been absorbed into the cracks in the craquelure network, or if these were manufacturing defects. So now let's take a look at the analyzing methods which were used. XRF and SEM-EDX analysis methods were employed to describe the technology used to produce the plates and the composition of the plaque. The composition of the white shard mass was determined. IR spectral analysis showed that the faience mass contained no calcium carbonate, indicating a relatively high faience firing temperature of over 1000 degrees Celsius. The results of XRF and SEM-EDX analysis of the transparent glaze suggest that the glaze is a potassium, calcium, aluminum silicate glass containing approximately 2–3% lead. The color of the glaze is imparted by the transition metal oxides and salts in the underglaze paints. The samples of brown deposits on the surface of the work pieces showed a relatively high content of the ferric ions, Fe3+. In conclusion, the analyses have confirmed that there is a spreading of colored decorative material under the colorless glaze, which has partially penetrated the glaze craquelure. Therefore, it was decided not to try bleaching the shards. They were first washed in diluted PAM solutions. Insoluble deposits were removed with oxalic acid solution and topical compresses. Turning our attention now to the restoration process. A solution of polyvinyl butyryl in ethyl alcohol was used to glue the fragments. The missing parts of the faience plates were restored using high-quality plaster. Reconstructed plaster fragments were consolidated with a solution of paraloid B72 in acetone and xylene. The restorers had sufficient examples to restore most of the missing parts of the decorations. In different places, various methods of transferring the line design were used. The monochrome elements of the more elaborate foliage and fine lace ornaments were drawn by hand using very fine brushes and watercolor as well as PVAC tempera. The restored surfaces were coated with acrylic lacquer. Due to a lack of examples, one of the fragments of castle composition has not been restored on one of the plates. Porcelain crockery has also been restored. A teacup and saucer made at the Kornilov porcelain factory, which operated in St. Petersburg from 1835 to 1918, has been fully reconstructed. Fully reconstructed oval serving plate produced by Meissen. The edges of the porcelain shards were chipped in many places. The surfaces were dirty and had hard grayish and brownish deposits. The deposits were removed, the shards were glued with PVB, lost fragments recreated using Araldite epoxy resin, colored with titanium white pigment. Missing color decorations were restored using acrylic paint and watercolor. The restored areas were coated with acrylic. Now let's take a look at another restored plate. The restoration process of two late 19th century plates was more complex, both in terms of reconstructing the form and the decoration. The sizing and the luxurious ornamentation suggests that the plates were intended for dessert. Then the shards were collected and arranged along the outline of the split. Each plate was missing approximately 2/3 of its fragments. However, it appeared to be possible to reconstruct the shape and decoration of the plates. Porcelain is usually reconstructed using polymer resins, but in this case, high-quality gypsum was used to reconstruct the missing fragments. The fragments were shaped by hand during the reconstruction. The reconstructed plaster part was consolidated using a solution of acrylic resin. The saucers were decorated using the decal technique with somewhat varied line designs of small tree branches. The hand-drawn design of one of the plates has been reproduced in very fine detail, based on the samples of surviving fragments and colors. The design was further filled in with watercolor using very fine brushes. The restored surfaces of the saucers were coated in acrylic varnish. Also, we have a collection of glassware, wine and champagne bottles, spice bottles, perfume bottles, goblets, and many other bottles. The glass artifacts have been cleaned and preserved using a paraloid B72 solution in acetone and xylene. Free crystal and colored glass vessels have been reconstructed completely. Lost fragments were recreated using Hextol Nile 1 epoxy resin. In conclusion, finding the crockery of the dining room of Count Tiškevičius during archaeological research and restoring it was a huge success for the Biržai Region Museum Siela. Previously having not had a single authentic crockery item from the Astravas estate, the museum was now able to compile a valuable collection of dining room pieces from prominent manufacturers, comprising 25 faience or porcelain and 38 glass pieces. The collection is now on permanent display at the museum in a room dedicated to the rule of Count Tiškevičius. That was all what I wanted to share today. Thank you. Paldies.
To start off, I would have a question about the analysis you did to find out if the discoloration was part of the production process or part of the environment of the archaeological finds.
Part of the production process, if I understand your question right.
You concluded that
you ask about the analyzing process,
yes.
That XRF and SEM-EDX methods. So they confirmed that the spreading was caused by the manufacturer things, not by the nature. Yeah.
Okay, maybe I missed that. Okay. Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you. It was very interesting. My question is it a common practice to make this missing parts and also do the retouching as you made it, as we could see here in the...
Well, unfortunately, as I'm not restorator myself, I am afraid that I cannot answer this question. Maybe my colleagues could, but because I was dedicated to present, I was only the manager of the project. So,
thank
you.
If there are no more questions, thank you very much.